Good morning, everyone. Today, Josh and I are on the affirmative side of the issue regarding marijuana, and our proposition is that marijuana use by adults should be legal in all U.S. jurisdictions. Our plan to move this forward is based on Prop 64 from California, which will be adopted by all states federally. With that said, Prop 64 states marijuana used by adults 21 and older should be legal with certain stipulations, including but not limited to a tax of 15% on retail sales of marijuana and cultivation, establishing strict packaging, labeling standards, sanctioning individuals who drive and smoke cannabis, prohibiting marketing and advertising cannabis directly to minors, and authorizing the resentencing and annulation of records for prior marijuana-related convictions. The current law impeding marijuana from being legal is the Controlled Substance Act of 1970, which is a federal drug policy which regulates different drugs under multiple classifications. Currently, marijuana is a Schedule I drug substance, meaning it is a substance which, to the federal government's view, has no accepted medical use and has a high potential for abuse. Therefore, marijuana is actively being prosecuted in many states with severe criminal punishments. We believe the ongoing prosecution of marijuana causes more harm than good to society, since it costs the government a great deal of money prosecuting marijuana when it can just be legalized and taxed to attain revenue from it. In addition, it is safer than alcohol and other illicit substances used for recreational purposes. And finally, the prosecution of marijuana is racially biased. I will now move forward to the stock issues. Marijuana will boost revenue. Taking Colorado and Washington as pilot states for this new law, initial estimates regarding the collection of marijuana tax have been exceeded, and therefore a nationwide legalization will create a steady and viable generator of tax revenue for each individual state. For example, the marijuana industry could generate up to $28 billion in tax revenues for federal, state, and local governments, including $7 billion in federal revenue, $5.5 billion from business taxes, and $1.5 billion from income and payroll taxes, since this industry also employs people. Furthermore, licensed and regulated marijuana stores in Colorado sold more than $996 million worth of recreational and medical cannabis in 2015. According to new data from the State Department of Revenue, with such sales, Colorado collected more than $135 million in marijuana taxes and fees in 2015, more than $35 million of which is earmarked for school construction and projects. Stock issue number 2. Marijuana is safer than alcohol and tobacco. A comparative assessment published in the Scientific Reports found alcohol to be 114 times more deadly than marijuana. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reports that more than 37,000 annual U.S. deaths were attributed to alcohol use alone. This figure does not include accidental deaths. On the other hand, the CDC does not even have a category for deaths caused by the consumption of marijuana. Stock issue number 3, decriminalization. Decriminalization of marijuana would reduce costs and reduce prison populations and have benefits for our nation, since it would no longer be obliged to continue paying approximately $4 billion annually just enforcing marijuana laws, according to the American Civil Liberties Union. In 2011, according to Harvard professor Jeffrey A. Moran, which is a professor of economics at Harvard, he stated that in 2011 alone, an individual in the U.S. was arrested for marijuana use, sale, or possession every 42 seconds. Now, prohibition entails direct enforcement costs, and prohibition prevents taxation of marijuana production and sale. If marijuana were legal, enforcement costs would be negligible, and governments could levy taxes on the production and sale of marijuana. Thus, government expenditures would decline and tax revenue would increase. Stock issue number 4, the historical context of marijuana laws. A significant portion of the reason to why marijuana is viewed unfavorably in today's society has to do with the implementation of drug acts enacted during the 1920s in which prejudice was a large factor when writing the laws. According to attorney Alan Block, during the 1900s, many of these acts and laws were advertised to the voting population in a manner which portrayed that only colored persons and immigrants used marijuana. He stated, proponents of the Harrison Act played on the populist fears of drug-crazed, sex-mad Negroes and made reference to Negroes under the influence of drugs murdering whites, degenerate Mexicans smoking marijuana, and Chinamen seducing white women with drugs. This sentiment can still partially be observed in today's society, since it is determined that the African American and Latino communities are incarcerated more frequently due to marijuana as their white counterparts. According to the ACLU, nationwide, the arrest data revealed one consistent trend: significant racial bias. Despite roughly equal usage rates, blacks are 3.73 times more likely than whites to be arrested for marijuana. Therefore, the legalization of cannabis at a federal level by adopting the stipulations from California Prop 64 will be beneficial both fiscally and socially. Thank you.